Thank you. Hello, I am Jennifer Byrne, and welcome to an evening with the frolicsome and fabulous Stephen Fry. It's going to be a special night because following Stephen's solo entertainment, when he will, I imagine, be using both of his two brains, he'll be joining me on stage for a conversation which promises to be quite interesting also. So let me introduce a true international treasure, a man who has the Renaissance mind combined with a ferocious command and control of modern media. Please welcome writer, raconteur, author. How do you begin to describe the one and only Mr. Stephen Fry?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, my word. Oh, good heavens. Thank you. Thank you. Holy crap! Thank you so much. Oh, stop. Ladies and gentlemen, behave yourselves. Thank you very much. Oh, my word. Oh, my goodness. Whoa. Stop. Stop. Oh, stop. Oh, you have. Never mind. Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't find the words to welcome you to this extraordinary evening. It's extraordinary in my life. It may be extraordinary in your life, but maybe you have performed in front of 2,500 people before. I certainly haven't. It's an unbelievable pleasure to be here. It's very hard to know quite where to begin. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't have an act as such. So I thought we would experiment this evening. There are people all around me. Have you noticed that? It's quite marvellous. I was assured, ladies and gentlemen, Poverty Row! How wonderful. I've got 45 minutes, roughly, in which to speak to you on my own, and I have so many things to say. I'm likely to overrun because I'm such a garrulous person. I have logorrhea, and I'm going to choose somebody from Poverty Row, who's rather bold. One of you? I'm going to take someone in the front row. What's your name? It's Esther. Esther. This is Esther, ladies and gentlemen. Have you got a watch? You've got the phone? All right, okay. Making sure that it's on airplane mode. Go to the clock, right? Utility. She's got to turn it. She's turned it off. Her job, Esther's job, is to tell me when 45 minutes are up, because I'll get lost. I will be inebriated with the exuberance of my own verbosity. And thank you. You're on it. 45 minutes. Go, obviously if I'm in the middle of a joke, if I'm perched on the edge of a punchline, shut the fuck up, all right? But otherwise we're happy. Now, this is so exciting. This is a remarkable moment for me. I've really never done anything like this before. I've done talks to small numbers of people, and I've done the odd reading, but to try and keep 2,500 Sydney-siders happy is jolly difficult, because you have a reputation in Sydney. You probably aren't aware of this, but I was speaking to someone from Melbourne the other day. You're all wankers. Did you know that? Yeah, apparently. Oh, yes, apparently. So this is quite nerve-wracking. Up your own asses, apparently. But that's fine. I happen to love this city. And what I did to prepare, because, as I say, I don't have an act as such, is I put out to my followers, on Twitter, I put out a question, name a number of subjects on which I could discourse or expatiate. And I got an enormous number of replies, and I couldn't help noticing that most of them had the letter W in them. See, I mean, obviously a lot of them started with what, where, who, why, how. People on Twitter can't spell. And, but also the subject matters seem to be involving the letter W. You see, I do occasionally glance round. And so I thought I would speak on a number of subjects that begin with the letter W, because that really is a way of focusing us all on lots of different things. If you know, it's a bit like writing poetry. If you have free verse, if you can just write in any way you want, then you look out of the window and you suck the end of your pen and nothing gets written. But if someone says you have to write a sonnet of 14 lines and it has to be an iambic pentameter and it has to rhyme according to this scheme, then it's sort of like filling in a grid. So I have these W's that I thought I would speak about. I've jotted them down here because I can't possibly be expected to remember them all because they're rather weird. Well, the first one is who, obviously, and someone asked me about a program which probably hasn't been shown over here, or maybe it has. It's called Who Do You Think You Are? And it's a British program in which you follow your ancestors. Right? Now, the reason I mention this first, although I did actually scribble it down, as I say, completely in random order, so how these things come out is a matter of guesswork, is because it occurred to me that although you are mostly, I suspect, Australians, and I am mostly not, we are very closely related. And it's an odd thing. I'm not a mathematician. There may be mathematicians in the audience, but most of us are probably more literate than we are numerate in this world. It just so happens. And yet we're not stupid. We know what is obviously true. Now, when I was asked by the BBC to do this genealogy program, Who Do You Think You Are? It's a quite interesting way of doing it because they basically say you've got 2.5 weeks of filming, carry a passport with you at all times, that's it. You don't know anything else. A car comes to pick you up in the morning. For all you know, you're going to fly to South Africa or indeed to Australia or to Central Europe, in my case, for the Jewish side of my family. And you've no idea what you're going to discover. And it's a very exciting thing to do. We would all dream of doing it. It's just wonderful when you've got a broadcasting company who does all the work for you and pays for the genealogists and so on. But I was talking to someone about doing this, and they said, "Oh, I do envy you." And their surname, for the sake of argument, was Clark. And they said, "You know, there have been Clarks in my part of Yorkshire for 300 years." And I thought, what a peculiar thing to say. And I'll tell you why it's peculiar. It's because, as you probably know, our surnames in our culture are based on the surnames of our father, whose surname is based on his father's surname, and so on. But it doesn't take too much for us to recognize that we have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 great-great-great-grandparents, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, and so on. And then in a few generations, you have tens of thousands of ancestors, each one of whom is as responsible for your existence as the other. Go back in time and pluck one of them out of history and you cannot exist. And only one out of 4,096 has that surname that you think is somehow who you are. But who you are is a vast panoply of people. So much so that if any of you has English or indeed Scottish blood in your veins, then you must be related to Henry IV, because you have more ancestors going back then than the population of Britain. So all I really wanted to say at the outset is hello, brothers and sisters. It's that simple. Anyway, let's have a look at the first W I scribbled down after that. Well, it's my... I was asked about www, the World Wide... Hello, welcome. Please don't... Just at least be grateful that nobody's looking at you. Thanks. Glad you made it. I know traffic in Sydney is 10 types of arse pig.